When Heavenly Delusion was first announced as an anime, I'll be honest, I had no idea about it at all.
I have no idea.
But the trailers got me interested enough to read the manga, but I only ended up reading the first 3 chapters, which, thinking about it now, it's a huge crime that I didn't continue reading it. But at the time, I was reading so many other manga that I just left it on the back burner. Even once the anime came out, I didn't even end up watching it until the 3rd episode came out. But as soon as I started watching it, I was hooked. And Heavenly Delusion has got to be one of the weirdest and most confusing anime I have ever watched. But regardless of that, I still love it. Heavenly Delusion starts off with introducing who I assumed was the main character, a girl named Tokyo, who lives with several other children in some sort of facility, and through her, we meet some other notable characters, like Mimihime, who somehow magically knows that a surprise test was going to happen without any reason whatsoever. Then there's also Kona, who is an incredibly talented artist and just gives away his art for free. Maybe he should consider starting a Patreon, because he knows damn well he would have some consistent customers. So at first glance I was thinking, okay, it's gonna be like Promised Neverland. They live in some safe place segregated from the rest of the world, only to find out that they've been lied to and begin to fight for freedom. The only thing missing were the demons. And Heavenly Delusion kind of is, but it also isn't at the same time. Because after one of the smoothest transitions in anime, we are introduced to the actual main characters of this anime, Maru and Kiriko, who both live on the outside world in a post-apocalyptic Japan, giving us the type of perspective we never had in Promised Neverland. When we're introduced to these characters, they're already partways into their journey and have already gotten to know each other. Personally, I like this as it adds a level of mystery to how they met and skips a lot of the boring introductions that can happen when integral characters meet for the first time. This, however, doesn't explain that for some reason these characters start role-playing as brother and sister, even though they have no relation to one another at all. Personally, I don't understand why this happens or if it has any significance to the story other than the characters just being a little weird. But regardless of that, these characters are on a journey to find a place called Heaven, and I'm confident in saying that Heaven is the same place that Tokyo and the other kids live in, because honestly, what else could it be? But even though that part is obvious, the most interesting aspect of the anime has got to be the contrast of these characters and their lifestyles. While Maru and Kiriko are always in danger and a constant threat of death, with limited resources and always on the brink of starvation, in a sense, these characters are also free. They can do whatever they want and are not tied to a building. They are free to explore the world as they see fit and constantly experience new things, while all the characters on the inside live this very carefree and protected life, free from basically all danger and no fear of starvation, but at the same time are stuck and unable to leave the building they inhabit, essentially trapped and bound to the same day-to-day routine that they've come to know. And built off this contrast is how the other characters feel about their situation. Either side craves for the other's situation, like how Maru and Kiriko crave safety and a place to enjoy food, while characters like Tokyo and Mimihime wish to know and explore the outside world, being given a chance to have some freedom. And while watching Heavenly Delusion, it felt like there's definitely more going on than just these characters wanting to see the outside, because the way some of these characters move is completely unrealistic, and that's intentional. Like a character throws a ball far away, jumps off a 3-story building, sprints and catches the ball before it lands. If that doesn't tell you something weird is going on, then don't worry, because this anime will remind you a lot. One of the things I have enjoyed the most about Heavenly Delusion has been the journey of Maru and Kiriko. As Maru searches for heaven and Kiriko searches for the people from her past, their journey takes them to all kinds of places, from almost being killed by a bunch of random thugs, which they absolutely whoop ass on, to visiting an inn whose caretaker is a sweet old lady, where they come to stay to avoid the man-eaters. Surely, nothing bad is going to happen. However, as it turns out, something bad indeed happened, as we come face to face with a man-eater for the first time. And before I go any further, the soundtrack throughout this anime is nuts. I only usually like to mention soundtracks when they're especially great, and here in Heavenly Delusion, it's brilliant. Easily one of the most refreshing anime soundtracks of 2023. This fight is excellently done, and is straight full throttle action from start to finish, with the only pause being the reveal of an absolute bombshell, with the innkeeper choosing to protect the man-eater, with it being revealed that the man-eater is actually her son, which I didn't see coming at all. And as a mother, it makes sense to want to protect your child, but I mean, look at this thing. Does it really look like your child? And it's kind of messed up how she was going to feed the main character characters to the Man-Eater, but I guess I'll let that slide considering how this is all going to end. As the situation turns out to be a double twist, as because the Man-Eater ate her son, she's under this illusion that her son has some control over the Man-Eater. Which, I mean, duh, there's no way this monster could be her son, no matter how hard she tries to believe it is. But for a while, it does look like the Man-Eater might not be evil, with it pausing its attack on the group. But that doesn't last long, as the mother ends up getting sliced up like she's some sushi, which came to the shock of absolutely no one, because come on, in what world is this thing not going to try to kill you? It is at the end of this fight that we find out that Maru actually has superpowers, and that he is the only real weakness of the Man-Eaters, as he can use his blood to kill the Man-Eaters from within. My man is on his Dead Man Wonderland type shit. And it wasn't until after this point that my dumbass realized that he looked like Tokyo, which is something they mentioned in the anime, that someone like Tokyo would show up, which basically 100% confirmed to me that they live in heaven, the same place that Maru is looking for. After this, Maru and Kiriko continue their journey, and when these characters are alone, the humor really shines through. This isn't a comedy anime by any stretch, but there are plenty of moments that genuinely made me laugh. This anime successfully inserts comedy without it having an impact on the tone of the anime, and the humor plays a more positive impact on this anime, as by showing the way these characters interact and crack jokes with each other, even in a world as oppressive as Heavenly Delusions, is amazing, and really does a great job with making them feel more human and alive, with them still finding time to enjoy and appreciate the small things in life, even with the possibility of death at every turn. When they eventually meet up with a group of survivors, it felt kind of off to me, with these people trying to return to some form of normality in their everyday lives. It may not have felt this way to some, but when the world is as unnatural as it is, a natural place becomes unnatural. I know that sounds like some sort of fake deep quote, but it's how I felt throughout their time there. Although I did really enjoy seeing a community thrive and remain positive even in a world filled with so much death. It's an aspect that I really like about any type of post-apocalyptic series, humanity's ability to persist and come back stronger than ever, using the previous disaster to make everyone come closer together and work alongside one another to survive. With their journey continuing to find heaven, Maru and Kiriko take a boat to cross over the ocean, because apparently the ocean was full of crocodiles. I bet Maru and Kiriko wish they knew that sooner, considering how they crossed it earlier without a care in the world. And it's on that boat where my third eye opened, and I was revealed to the truth of the universe, as after Maru's love confession to Kiriko, it turns out that Kiriko is a boy, which had me questioning my sexuality there for a minute, and left Maru completely stunned without the tack mask. This revelation takes us into Kiriko, or should I say Haruki's backstory, which I found to be both enjoyable and heartfelt, with Haruki living with his sister Kiriko, who also happens to be an incredible go-kart racer. My theory for why she is so good at go-kart racing is because she used to play Mario Kart 8 in her spare time, but that's just me. Anyways, we get to learn a lot about Haruki's past and why exactly he's after the people in the photos he has. And we also get to see how he ended up becoming Kiriko, as he ends up almost getting eaten alive by a man-eater. However, his sister Kiriko saves his life, but unfortunately not his legs, with him pouring blood everywhere. This is a brutal scene when it happens, and Heavenly Delusion does not hold back in this regard. The anime makes it clear that Haruki's chances of surviving the blood loss is close to zero, which makes it even more bittersweet that in the ultimate display of love for her younger brother, she sacrifices her life so that he can live, by swapping their brains over, keeping Haruki alive in Kiriko's body. To say this is a hard adjustment for Haruki would be an understatement, as the man slips into an absolute manic episode at the realization of what has happened, with everyone he ever knew having vanished without a trace, which brings us back to the present again. Hopefully that didn't confuse anyone and we're all still on the same page.
It's not that I don't get it, it's that it doesn't make any sense.
And before this backstory was even shown, I like how there were subtle hints and foreshadowing thrown in throughout, which helped to make Kiriko more mysterious and her backstory so much more satisfying to watch. And speaking of foreshadowing, Heavenly Delusion does this quite a bit, especially with Kona, as the monsters he draws seem to reflect what Kiriko and Maru fight against. There was also another thing that blew me away while the characters were on the boat, and that was the animation, especially this one scene at the end of episode 2. This blew me away. I don't know if this is rotoscoping or just some elite animation, but wow, this was really well done, and made me realize just how great the animation is throughout this entire anime, as it keeps this quality up consistently throughout the anime, which goes hand in hand with the art quality. Even in a time where art quality is going through the roof, some animes stand out even more in this regard, and Heavenly Delusion is one of those animes, as it does an incredible job bringing this character to life and capturing the manga's art style, and that makes watching Heavenly Delusion even more enjoyable as a result. After defeating a giant lizard monster with the power of Snoop Dogg's weed supply, we return to my favorite side character, Tokyo. And in this scene, things get a little weird, as both Cuckoo and Tokyo meet these alien-looking babies. Then one of the babies starts saying her name, and immediately after that, we find out that the entire facility is the body of some weird-looking robot called Mina. And all this does is leave me with more questions as I try to figure out what is even going on in this anime. And then after all this, you have one of the most cringe-inducing love confessions I have ever watched in anime. I mean, I understand that it's intentionally cringe because these characters have no idea of the concept of love, but it is still unnerving. Because in the creepiest way possible, he says he wants to lock Mimihime up in his room, and she's like, yeah, that's fine with me. And I was like, huh? And then my man somehow made it even worse by saying this type of shit.
I guess I want to take off your clothes and touch you and maybe, lick you.
This isn't even the weirdest part. The weirdest part is that she doesn't bat an eye when he says all this. There is something wrong with some of the characters, I swear, man. Other than that cringy love confession, the way Heavenly Delusion handled romance and love is surprisingly sweet and heartfelt. The anime did a great job with Tokyo regarding romance and how it feels to be loved by someone and loving someone for the first time. It was also during this episode where I really noticed how incredible the voice acting is in both the sub and the dub. Honestly, for me, it's pick and choose. The sub and dub both had their own charm to them, and the characters' delivery and expressiveness throughout the anime is a joy to watch. And this brings me into one of my favorite aspects of Heavenly Delusion, and that is how the relationship between Maru and Kiriko evolves. As while Maru's feelings have already been clearly established, Kiriko is more unsure. However, while watching Heavenly Delusion, it becomes increasingly clear that Kiriko's relationship goes beyond that of a bodyguard, with her being genuinely concerned over Maru as Kiriko slips into full panic mode when Maru isn't inside the apartment, for him to just come out of the apartment next door completely fine. Kiriko's vocal delivery appears way more emotionally charged than how you would expect a regular bodyguard to react to the situation. And I think it's clear that she cares about Maru more as a friend than as just some person to protect. We do eventually return to Tokyo, the girl, not the place, and we find out that one of her friends dies. And Tokyo then has one of the worst nightmares imaginable, as there is some graphic body horror shown off here. And while I do enjoy the back and forth perspectives from Maru and Kiriko to Tokyo, it can sometimes hurt the overall pacing of the anime when the anime goes between the two different stories multiple times in one episode. And even this seems to be getting better as the anime goes on with some episodes being dedicated to one specific story, with the anime mainly sticking with Maru and Kiriko as they learn about the Immortal Order and 100% safe water, with them meeting up with another innkeeper before setting off. Surely this couldn't end as bad as last time. The water, however, turns out to be a scam, because seriously, what water is 100% safe in a post-apocalyptic world? As Maru and Kiriko end up getting attacked by a bear, which scares them so much they climb to the top of a pillar. While they set up a plan to kill the bear, Kiriko drops the battery they need to power the gun, which is the only thing that can kill the bear. So in a big brain move, she says,
I'll let you touch my boobs if you go get...
and literally, without any hesitation, Maru jumps down and grabs the battery. My boy Denji will be so proud right now. When they finally return to the inn, Maru gets into an altercation with the innkeeper in a moment that was so embarrassing that they needed a narrator to come in, which just makes it so much more dramatic than it needed to be, which made it all the funnier. While Maru and Kiriko explored the city some more, I really noticed how nice the art was in this anime. It comes with this drawn aesthetic to it that I really like. After eventually being found by protesters, they head towards the basement of the Immortal Order, where Kiriko gets attacked by these weird monster robot hybrids. This attack is brutal, with her arm and foot getting bit off, along with the screaming really sells how brutal this scene is. This scene shocked me, and I really thought they were gonna kill an integral character off. However, it turns out it was just a hallucination. However, what is not a hallucination is Dr. Uzami, the leader of the Immortal Order, asking them for help. And it's here that we learn that man-eaters are actually humans who ended up dying from a specific disease, the same disease that Tokyo's friend died from. And we also find out that the Immortal Order is nowhere near as bad as the protesters made them seem. In fact, even though their leader Dr. Uzumi acts rather cold throughout his time in the anime, in one of the saddest moments in this anime, he shows a great deal of emotion at reading the last words of the girl he tried so desperately to save. And because of this, he is unable to keep on living, which is such a brutal resolution for this character. I really cannot describe just how much I have enjoyed this anime so far. far. This anime has done an incredible job bringing these characters to life and provides a contrast not often seen in anime. There is a nice blend of humor and dark moments to make for a story that's always entertaining. There is also plenty of mystery, and while this anime has left me confused at points, it has also left me interested in finding out the truth. The animation and visuals are of course always top notch and makes the anime even more worth watching. I cannot wait to see how the story continues to unfold. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.
See you. Bye bye.